Hey everyone. Okay, so right out of the gate, one question that popped in my mind after reading this chapter is I wonder just how much Oda had pre-planned on making this chapter, the events within, and just everything involving with this chapter. I wonder how much he was planning on making this the final chapter of the year, because if I was to ever describe a chapter as being the perfect conclusion to a character arc, this would kind of be it. Like this chapter in itself, it accomplishes so much with so little. It wraps up Kuma's story. It gives the perfect background perspective of just how he was always there, always keeping a diligent eye on everything, always looking out for Bonnie from a distance, and also just how much he did to come to realize that, well, as much as I hate giving into a meme, that Luffy was him. That Kuma, more than anyone, had understood Luffy was the man the world had been waiting for, and just how much this story just kind of perfectly brings everything we know about Kuma full circle, and how he took it upon himself to do everything in his power to ensure that the world even had a future, even if it meant becoming even if Kuma it meant becoming the villain of his own story. Like he knew that was the role he needed to play, and to top it all off, Oda Oda just capped everything off by putting that nice little emotional bow on it, with that one final moment of Kuma telling Vega Punk to pass on his last words to Bonnie. Happy 10th birthday. Like, I'm sorry, but as a wrap up, I'm sorry, but if anyone's gonna disagree with me, that's from John Yu. But for me, that is honestly the best. The way this whole thing came to an end is the best wrap up to a character story arc in One Piece, and I don't know, maybe even anime manga in general, because it's one of those things where it thrives off the simplicity of what it's doing, and it doesn't get more perfect. And in my opinion, the whole happy 10th birthday Bonnie, it doesn't get any more perfect than that, because it shows to Bonnie that Kuma was always there for her, even if he couldn't like be directly there for her, but now that she's the one who carries, but also that now she's the one who carries his memories with her, memories of the life he lived and most likely won't ever be able to live again. But in a fashion, he still died believing in Bonnie and believing in Luffy. He believed though his daughter and Luffy were the ones to finally bring this world peace, and now Bonnie's had to learn the hard way that there's likely no going back for Kuma, but his life, his legacy, it all lives on through her. So yeah, in that respect, like I gotta say it again. I think Oda has crafted something really, really special with this chapter, in just how he's beautifully wrapped everything up for Kuma in a way. With that said, with Bonnie having come to know all of Kuma's memories, including the stuff about Luffy, it does kind of beg the question of what her next moves are going to be, because I've already brought it up several times throughout this flashback, but there's a variety of routes Oda could go with this from here, anywhere from Bonnie joining the Revolutionaries to continuing on with the Straw Hats, and I'm almost thinking Oda might go with the more direct option, with Bonnie keeping the alliance with the Straw Hats going until the end of the story, for the sake of continuing her father's journey, and more so just wanting to see for herself where the journey will end. What is it that Kuma saw in Luffy? What is it he hoped to see Luffy accomplish? And that just feels kind of like the most appropriate role for her to play from this point on in the story. But at the same time, and that feels like the most appropriate role she could play, because again, she's carrying Kuma's Kuma's legacy with her now. So in that regard, it just makes the most sense that she would join probably the Straw Hats for the remainder of their journey, and to see where it all leads. But at the same time, as much as I hate to sound like a broken record about it, learning the fate of her crew is also kind of the next thing that needs to take priority for me, because it's with everything that we've learned about Bonnie's history in this throughout this whole flashback. It's as much as I wanted to like join the Strides for the remainder of their journey. It's also just gonna feel weird moving on without knowing what happened to what happened to her crew. Honestly, especially now that we know so much of the connection that ties back to Sorbet Kingdom with them. Like it would just feel wrong to just leave that plot thread hanging, especially considering that in a way her crew are now the only family she has left. And again, I hope Oda does understand this because like I don't know, it just feels weird that we haven't touched base with that. I guess I'm having to assume they're dead, but it's like I think we still need to kind of learn what happened to them now. Um, One thing I also liked about this chapter is how right up until the end, Vega Punk, the one who made Kuma into the mindless machine he is now, ultimately proved to be Kuma's closest confidant, and besides Bonnie, the one who probably fought the hardest for him. Like at every fucking turn, Vegapunk fought with the world government. He's saying, all of you are a bunch of fucking asshats for doing this to Kuma. Let the man have at least a little bit of dignity, a little bit of free will, and ultimately, like, he couldn't do jack shit because, unfortunately, again, it is true that, as Jay Garcia said, he is just a lowly government scientist. There's nothing more he can do, and ultimately, you can tell he was the one who felt the most remorseful for what happened to Kuma, but Kuma himself was ultimately resolved to his fate in the end, even if Vegapunk hated every minute of what he was forced to do. Like, he genuinely does. You can tell one of his biggest regrets is what he did to Kuma, and the part he had to play in part he had to play in Kuma's life. And if he could, I think if Vegapunk could go back and fix everything, he probably would. And it's also kind of funny looking on that scene of Kuma in Vegapunk's lab looking at the pacifistas, because with where the story is now with the development of the Seraphim models, you could almost say the Kuma models were mere prototypes by comparison, yet already still so strong that yes, like if the Kuma pacifista models were already so strong that it's like the Seraphim were like, yeah, how did they get even stronger kind of thing. And yeah, what more can I say that I haven't already said about Jay Garcia at this point? The man once again proves to be the most detestable out of all the Gorosei, and it truly is kind of fascinating to me that of all five of these old bastards, he's the one who had the most impact on events as they are now. And even funnier is how this whole spiral of events started from just a single rebellion against Sorbet's previous king. Like that more than anything is kind of the shocking part, that through all of what set Kuma's journey down this path and everything after all came from that one single moment. And yet he stayed the course until the end. And in that regard, you could say Kuma did in a way bamboozle even Jay Garcia by playing the kind of long game he did. As even after Sabaody, the government was still none the wiser as to the reason why he had spared the Straw Hats' lives. And now, years later, that not realizing sooner what he was doing kind of came back to bite them in the ass after Wano. Like, it's like, yeah, it's like Kuma really is both Kuma and Jay Garcia in their own ways are both responsible for are the biggest pieces on the board that are responsible for a lot of the main things that happened in the story thus far. And I like Kuma's like Kuma's contributions to everything that's happened now are in some ways it's all thanks to him. It's all thanks to him that the world even has, I guess, a chance of surviving now with Luffy having awakened the power of Nika. And it's still, I guess, up in the air too as to what role like Bonnie's gonna play here. But I think it's gonna be whatever role Bonnie plays from here, whatever, and how it ties to Luffy. Like, it's the pieces have been perfectly set into motion thanks to Kuma, and it's just gonna be intriguing to see how things play out from here. But yeah, guys, That's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and on this Crunchyroll, push the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just share the video around, guys. Dark Knight of the Night signing off. Later, everyone.